hold on. So what happened in the Holocaust and all the pogroms were disgusting. That doesn't mean that is.
One more time in case you missed that.
So what happened in the Holocaust and all the pogroms.
Did you just sit up in a panel segment and say, wait till my husband gets home? Is that what you did? Shout out to all the subscribers and the members here on the channel. Don't forget to like the video. I am Reese Waters, and this is Who Raised Y'all, where we highlight those unique individuals going above and beyond to make society worse.
Hi, I'm Katie Miller. Welcome to my podcast and welcome to my living room.
You know, the kinds of people you'll see asking to speak to the manager at the pearly gates.
I want to talk to the manager.
Now, I'll be honest. This very easily could have been a racist of the week. But it's been a very busy week for racism. We need to order some more statues.
And in fact, if you look at what food stamp recipients are saying in their own words, you come away with the distinct impression that almost none of these people actually need the food stamps. Instead, you come away with the impression that many of these people are simply entitled, lazy, barely literate, and some of them are just frankly bad people.
See, he thought that was racism. He was trying to be racist, but really he was just talking about MAGAs. He was just talking about MAGAs, because we know the facts when it comes to federal assistance. We have learned that, and I don't know if they're going to handle that well, Matt Walsh. This easily could have been a racist of the week, but at the end of the day, I just really need to know who raised people like this. Stephen Miller's wife claims Karine Jean-Pierre used LGBTQ status to boost career as stunned CNN host shuts down segment. Katie Miller blasted the former White House press secretary on CNN for using her identity as an LGBTQ plus black woman to boost her career. Stunned CNN host Jake Tapper was forced awkwardly to cut to commercial when Miller, wife of Trump aide Stephen Miller, called Jean-Pierre incompetent and claims she only got her White House gig because she was a black, queer, LGBTQ woman.
What I think you're seeing and what Karen is attesting to is that she is quite incompetent to do the job, right? This is what Republicans have been saying for years now, is that she is just another evidence that DEI doesn't work, whether that's in the White House in your press secretary role, or whether that's an air traffic controller, an air pilot, whether that's your doctor. You want to hire the best for the role, not just based on skin color. Jake, why did she get the job over John Kirby?
Well, why are we assuming that she, as a black LGBT, gay woman, is DEI, but a white woman who is behind the podium right now, which DEI initially started as affirmative action, which was about affirmatively hiring women and minorities? Why is one DEI and the other is not?
Why did she get the job over John Kirby? Because as everyone has said this week, she is woefully incompetent.
She had the job long before John Kirby.
I will just say she used to be a commentator on CNN, then she was one on MSNBC. Mm-hmm. And she was good at that. I'm without getting into the job I thought she did as press secretary. I thought it didn't seem crazy to me because she was eloquent as a commentator.
Why is she trained every 4 sentences to say she is a black, queer, LGBTQ woman? Because that's how she's been promoted her entire career.
Anyway, Katie Miller and Karen Finney, thank you so much.
Now, first of all, shout out to Karen Finney for correctly pointing out, why is it that Jean-Pierre is DEI but not Caroline Leavitt? If there's one thing that the MAGAs had to learn the hard way this year, is who all, in fact, is DEI. I have all of the crying FAFO videos of women finding out they are, in fact, DEI to prove that. So shout out to you for that. Now, when it comes to DEI, one thing that we have understood by virtue of folks like J.D. Vance protecting DEI where there was none was that it really just means somebody was too dark for the role and they weren't worshiping your power.
When you don't have the best standards in who you're hiring, it means on the one hand, you're not getting the best people in government, but on the other hand, it puts stresses on the people who are already there. We want to hire the best people because we want the best people at air traffic control, and we want to make sure we have enough people at air traffic control who are actually competent to do the job. If you go back to just some of the headlines over the past 10 years, you have many hundreds of people suing the government because they would like to be air traffic controllers, but they were turned away because of the color of their skin. That policy ends under Donald Trump's leadership because safety is the first priority of our aviation industry.
See, even though it was no DEI, we knew the letters DEI. And so that means we brought DEI into the role. See, and then what happened too, because it was no diversity, but they had passed a black guy on the elevator. They passed a black guy on the elevator, and that really diminished everybody's capacity to work effectively. See, there were no black people involved in the calamity, but a lot of them were wearing black shoes. And I believe the black shoes are to blame. Well, they were all white men, but they loved the NBA, especially the new NBA telecast they got going on. They watch a lot of NBA, and I feel like that rubbed off on them.
Stop the cap.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Katie Miller. But Jean-Pierre was DEI and incompetent. You haven't said the same about Caroline Leavitt, and I certainly don't believe that you feel that way about her. Which of those two responded to a question from a reporter with your mom? Which of those two responded to a reporter, a legitimate question from a reporter with your mom? And then thought that she was going to eat, so she released the text messages herself to further try and shame the reporter, completely misreading, adulthood. Which one of those two did that? And granted, I don't need to ask how you would have reacted had Jean-Pierre done that. I got another one. Which one of the two has handpicked which media members can attend and ask questions because a real journalist might hurt her feelings? I got one. Which one only gained access to power by virtue of who she married? Oh, you know what? That's both of y'all. Oh, I like this game.
He's out of line, but he's right.
As for you, Jake Tapper, tell me you're on board with the racism without telling me you're on board with the racism. Well, I can't say anything about her as press secretary, but she always held the elevator for me when she was here, and she always had some real nice shoes. So I can give her, I can't say nothing about what you just said, but I will definitely give her that. What would Katie Miller have had to have said for you to actually challenge the nonsense coming out of her mouth? There's a reason why you got dragged the way you did. I'm done. You were my favorite anchor for years, but after hosting Katie Miller on your show today and not checking her racist remarks at all, I will no longer tune in every day. Shame on you and shame on CNN. #disgusted. The question is, why is Katie Miller on this show? She's not a politician, not a member of the government. Nobody voted for her ever. Her husband does the same thing, situates himself on media as if he's an elected politician. They're both agent provocateurs for the Republican political party. Why isn't Jake Tapper pushing back on Katie Miller's lies and Republican talking points? He just sits there and says, while Katie lies about healthcare coverage for illegal immigrants. I wanted to break my TV. This was an all new low for Tapper. I'm actually kind of surprised that he didn't plug his book in the midst of that. That actually would have been an all new low had he done that. Because Jake Tapper's boss told him to stop upsetting the sociopathic convicted felon with East Wing demo coverage, less poor polling numbers, and more attacks on President Biden. More lies, insults, buffoonery for ratings. Hence, feckless, hateful Katie Miller. JT does anything for money. Now, that is not to say that Katie Miller went unscathed. Katie Miller mocking a black queer woman while her husband spent years caging kids and demonizing the undocumented is the Millers in a nutshell. Cruel, entitled, and proud of it. And Katie Miller is just as vile as her Yahtzee husband. But when it comes to Katie Miller, this has come to be what we've expected from her at this particular point. And that's why there was also a different kind of reaction on social media to what she said. CNN's Jake Tapper cuts Katie Miller from the air after she drops truth bomb on Karine Jean-Pierre. And Katie Miller, savage, just like her husband, Stephen. Now, here's the part where we get Katie Miller all the way together. And one thing I do appreciate about Republicans and MAGAs is they always give you the content. So Katie Miller was savage and was dropping truth bombs. Keep that in mind, because this is the same woman that hadn't had enough with attacking Jean-Pierre on CNN. She goes on to Fox News to attack AOC for being sad, petty, and childless.
But she's nothing but a sad, petty, childless adult bemoaning the rich while flying on private planes. If she wants to hurl personal insults, I say bring it on. Because the bottom line is all these left snowflakes, all they know how to do is be keyboard warriors or yell into a computer screen instead of actually arguing or having a debate with their counterparts, because what she knows is that President Trump and his administration is more effective in a single 24-hour period than she will ever be in her entire life.
And stayed for this segment with Hannity projecting that they hate you and the left spews more vile rhetoric.
In 2024, we learned just how many Americans in this country would celebrate the assassination of our president. In 2025, we learned with the murder of Charlie Kirk just how many people would celebrate my murder, my husband's murder, and your murder, Sean. Because those so-called tolerant left and those who have lawn signs that say hate have no home here are the most hateful, are the least tolerant. It is shameful, it is disgusting, it is disrespectful. We should be welcome in communities no matter your political beliefs.
So if you're scoring from home, we have the left spews more vile rhetoric. We have sad, petty, and childless, and incompetent DEI hire. Katie Miller, this you?
Totally lying. It's very normal for a Miller to be completely and utterly lying.
Quite frankly, I'm really sick and tired of this racist, bigoted rhetoric that comes from people like you against my husband, against my family, and my children. I am raising Jewish children in this country.
Who brought your children into this? What a weirdo.
Piers, I'm going to be done with this if you're going to allow racist and bigoted attacks against one of your commentators just for the sake that he will not
hang on.
speaking.
Casey, to be clear, he inserted
a line that says the Millers lie. Is that not coded language for therefore we are Jewish? Come on, Piers, where are you?
What?
Where are you standing?
God, you're so
Casey,
pathetic.
if I can speak.
Everything's your shield.
If I can speak,
anti-Semite. Fire him, cancel him, cancel him, America. Oh my God, Israel's feelings have been hurt. Why don't you work for this country?
All right, can we try and get
this country?
Yeah, you are a guest on my show, and I appreciate you coming on the show, and I like you coming on the show.
And I'm saying that two other guests on your show are welcome to participate in these anti-Semitic attacks that is so permeating on CNN and MSNBC.
This is so ridiculous. I'm sorry. I have to jump in here. Somebody criticizing you personally is not an anti-Semitic attack. If somebody says that you are lying, that is not an attack on Jews. That is an attack on you. And just stop hiding behind identity. This is all the snowflake behavior that the right is supposedly criticizing the left for, that you're simply repeating here. Yes, Stephen Miller is a destructive force in American society. That is not an attack on Jews. That is no reference to his identity. This is an attack on him individually, and just deal with the merits of this case.
Hey, MAGAs, yeah, your savage had a short circuit. Yeah, your savage has malfunctioned. That's what we see here. So let me get this straight, Katie Miller. You can go on CNN and call Jean-Pierre a DEI hire, an incompetent DEI hire, which we know is very coded language because of the laziness of people like J.D. Vance and Lauren Boebert. Yes, no degree Lauren Boebert wants to call folks with Juris Doctorates DEI hires because of the laziness. We know that's extremely coded language. You get to do that, call AOC sad and petty, but now literally any criticism that comes your way gets construed as racist because you couldn't possibly receive any of the criticism that you are pushing out on a regular basis.
I am having a very bad day. I am in no mood.
Snowflake was exactly right. In fact, I think snowflakes would have lasted longer than she did on this panel. The entitlement is wild. And here's the thing. If there's anything that we've learned about MAGAs, is that when they're placed in a position where they are in fact exposed, as opposed to trying to change your behavior or show some level of humanity, like an actual human being, they double down. So somehow she managed to make it worse.
Hold on. So
you better
what
check your
happened in the
citizenship
Holocaust
application and hope everything was legally
all the
and
pogroms were disgusting.
You'll be just like Ilhan
That
Omar
doesn't
coming
mean
in.
that is.
One more time in case you missed that.
So
you better
what
check your
happened in the
citizenship
Holocaust
application and hope
all
everything
the
was
pogroms
legally
and all the
and correct.
pogroms.
Threatening to have your husband deport an American citizen because he criticized you in a TV debate, and more so because he criticized the foreign country you love so deeply, is about as twisted and authoritarian a mindset as you'll find. Ching is a naturalized U.S. citizen. First, she begged Piers Morgan to kick him off, then vowed her husband would denaturalize him. This is what happens when entitlement meets humiliation on live TV. Now, Katie Miller, we started with you calling Karine Jean-Pierre unqualified and incompetent and a DEI hire. Did you just sit up in a panel segment and say, wait till my husband gets home? Is that what you did? You just sat up here after getting embarrassed in a panel discussion and said, wait till my husband gets home? Is that what you just did? Snowflake was right. And I don't even mean like a natural snowflake. Definitely the kind that is created artificially, that is prone to short circuiting like you just saw. Now, I would love also at this point to bring in my respectability blacks, my black MAGAs, and even my Latinos for Trump, he's got to go get the criminals. We came in the right way. Because she's talking about deportation for a U.S. citizen. So I would love for you guys to explain to me how these are the people that are supposed to set the standard of behavior that the rest of us have fallen so short of. These are the people that sit in judgment that you adhere to cast aspersions on the rest of us. These are the people whose orders you are taking. And she just let the whole game, she just exposed the entire game. Cause you're not going to tell me that there's something wrong with the culture and it's some, look at those immigrants over there and this, that, and the other thing, and fathers in the home. And she's threatening to deport a U.S. citizen because she didn't like the very legitimate attacks that were sent her way in a debate. So you once again want to tell me, and the same woman, by the way, who went and criticized AOC and Karine Jean-Pierre for being incompetent and DEI hires. So go ahead and re-explain to me the legitimacy of any of these attacks. She exposed you all. That's what she did. We'll take it up with her. But I will say this. She's not going to take that criticism well. Y'all better be careful what tone you use, because she liable to kick y'all out of MAGA and maybe more. But then y'all want to tell me about how we're here because what we believe and this, that, and other. Well, apparently your only use and function is to support their supremacy. Because you see exactly how she acted the second that wasn't done by a brown person. It's all out there. Now, since we're on the topic of unqualified and DEI hire, it came to me in preparing this video. I was unaware that she actually has a whole lifestyle show. I didn't know Katie Miller was into it. She has a whole lifestyle show where, it's disguised as a lifestyle show. It's a vehicle for her to push conservatism, but as a personality, this is not it. No, I might say for a host, unqualified. You got to be able to take some criticism.
No mistake. You should be taking the Katie Miller podcast seriously. Stephen Miller's wife, Katie Miller, started a podcast, and let me tell you, I watched it, and it is doing everything that the Republican Party needs it to do. I've seen videos like making fun of her cadence, making fun of that intro video she did. Let's be real. Every intro video where it's just a singular person talking for a podcast, when they're not like Amy Poehler, is usually like, man. Katie is married to what many would argue is the most evil architect in the Trump administration. And I think the Republican Party is hitting a block, because I think what's starting to happen is people are starting to be like, well, if we are the party of family values and we are the party of morality, whatever, how do we reconcile some of this ICE stuff? And so the best thing that they can do is to try to humanize the party through someone like Katie Miller. I've been looking into who is funding this podcast, and I would argue it's probably somehow she's gotten it funded by the Republican Party, because it's not on a network. It's maybe self-funded, but she's bringing in people like JD Vance.
Can you think of literally any piece of content you would less want to watch than a JD Vance interview? You mean the same guy who couldn't make small talk while he was buying donuts during the campaign trail? You want me to willingly spend time with him? You got to pay me to watch that.
To have these conversations that I think she and her funders are hoping will make people be like, oh, he's just a dad. She has access to so many guests. She had on Katie Britt in today's episode.
You know what? I take that back. I said JD Vance would probably be the last person. It would be Katie Britt. I spoke too soon. I spoke too soon because I seen the robotic thing that she did with the response. You got the bottom two though.
Being very casual, talking about Rush Talk. CBS this morning did a huge segment on her podcast today. They had her on.
Not CBS News. You mean CBS News had a whole segment pushing Katie Miller's podcast where she projects conservatism onto women? No, not the same CBS News that I said was compromised by virtue of Paramount's settlement with Trump. No way.
Start with Katie Miller, wife of Stephen Miller, former employee of Elon Musk. She launched her own podcast, the Katie Miller Podcast, and kicking it off with the JD Vance interview, that charmer. Now let's listen to some of the hard-hitting journalism happening over there.
I had a buddy who used to eat french fries with mayonnaise. I thought that was disgusting.
It's the only thing my husband eats.
With french fries or period?
Period.
Okay. Wow. I didn't realize.
He's only a mayonnaise guy.
Okay. I learned something about Stephen I didn't know.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. Finding out that Stephen Miller puts mayonnaise on everything doesn't shock me at all. That is the least surprising thing I've heard all week. I would be, that's gotta be his barbecue sauce. That's his barbecue sauce is mayonnaise. I'm just thinking about a Stephen Miller plate of just cottage cheese next to yogurt with vanilla ice cream and and whipped cream. And maybe a little bit of sour cream in there too. And cover it with mayonnaise and milk. I can tell you this though, that better be a white paper plate. And don't put no brown handle or cup. No, I just want the raw, naked white paper plate in my hand.
Hey, yo, what the fuck?
Now, one thing that has been missing from the Miller discourse thus far, because she's shown herself to be thoroughly unqualified to have any proximity to power in this country. However, she is certainly qualified to be a Miller. And in that way, they both belong right next to each other.
Welcome to today's episode of Wait, this man found somebody to mate with? Huh? We'll be diving into the life of Katie Waldman Miller, the wife of Stephen Miller. And spoiler, it's going to be painfully clear why this duo is a match made in, well, hell. You might have seen that Katie just launched a podcast. And if you're wondering how she got here, well, let's rewind. Just like her husband, Katie comes from a prominent Jewish family in Florida, where she was born in 1993. Yes, that makes her 33 years old. And here's the thing, her marriage, not shocking to anybody that actually knew her. At the University of Florida, one classmate said, "The only thing she loves or values in this world is power. Anyone she attaches to in her life is simply a pawn to feed her addiction to it." Her cruelty didn't start with Stephen. Vanity Fair described her high school and college years. They said, quote, "She had YOLO tattooed inside her lower lip, but her energy was laser focused on power. She cut corners, used dirty tricks, sometimes even illegal ones, and laughed as she got away with it." So it's no surprise that when Katie launched her career, she went right into Republican politics. First as a press secretary for Montana Senator Steve Daines, where he praised her work ethic, but reporters remember her as petty and combative. From there, she leveled up, and in 2017, she landed at the Department of Homeland Security, ground zero for Stephen Miller's obsession with the southern border, and she quickly made a name for herself. According to Jacob Sabaroff's book, Separated, Katie admitted the point to putting children in cages was to shock. And DHS even sent her to the border to, quote, "make her more compassionate." And she literally said, "It didn't work." And her classmates weren't surprised. One said, "I genuinely believe there's something wrong with her. She lacks a moral compass and demonstrates elements of a sociopath." So when Katie and Stephen met at the Department of Homeland Security in 2018, it wasn't some kind of opposites attract thing. It was two people obsessed with cruelty finding each other. And by 2020, they were married, with Mike Pence officiating in a Trump hotel because, of course. Fast forward to now, and it's reported that the Millers do not have a life outside of the Maga bubble. They rarely go out in public because they get harassed. And honestly, that might be the most wholesome part of this entire love story.
These are the people that have been allowed to get this close to the seat of power. And as wayward as we know Trump's own thought processes to be, these are the people that are in his ear that have influence over it. And you wonder why the country looks the way that it does. Exactly the way I look at that podcast. Like my look, the face I have when I watch JD Vance trying to be entertaining is literally the world's face at the USA. Basically the face I have when I watch her podcast, like that, the face I have when I was forced to watch just a little bit that I had to just make this video, that face, that's literally the face that the rest of the world has when they look at us. And this is why. Hey, thank you guys so much for supporting the channel, and a very special shout out to my man Brian, who sent me this photo in his fresh Who Raised Y'all gear and said, "Just wanted to show you how I represent the Reese Waters community. I need Reese to add some sweaters to the merch store though. It's getting cold." And that is actually a fantastic idea, because if you know me at all, I yearn for the cold so I have an excuse to cover my front porch. See, spring and summer is fit people weather, and I have never been invited to that club.
I know, man. It hurt me too. Come here, man.
So good idea, Brian. And shout out to you for your support. Be on the lookout for more. We got Release the Files and Kamala Was Right gear that's hitting right about now.
But not yet. We need to install the plumbing. I'll go get the bathroom.
But another thing I would like to address, I received lots of comments and emails from people that said we would love to support the channel, but we're furloughed right now, or we've been hit by some of the cuts to benefits, and times are a little bit tight. We were laid off, things like that. You being here and supporting the channel by virtue of attending the premieres, dropping a comment, sending kudos, a like, whatever you do is more than enough. You are seen at this particular time and you are absolutely supported. Anybody that's been affected by the elimination of benefits or growing economic insecurity, you can support the channel and the content without being a paid member at all. Just watching the videos to the end past the outro helps in the algorithm. So does watching the ads all the way through. Also liking and sharing posts and leaving those comments on your social media platforms also boosts engagement.
I promise you, until you do right by me, everything you think about is gonna crumble.
Oh, that's right. Miss Ray can always use help. So if you're interested in volunteering to be a mod, you can send us a message at admin@reesewaters.com. Now, this is a channel where I value honesty and authenticity. And one of the things that I have communicated to you on several occasions is my heavy use of enhancements. Yeah, I have been known to enter the enhancement game. That's why I be so tough on Byron. You know, that's why I be so tough on Byron, because every time I go down to CNN, ain't no more Beijing. You know what I mean? Ain't no, hey, you know what I mean? Just selfish. That'd be a MAGA. That definitely be a MAGA. So at this particular point in time, I would just like to acknowledge one of our own in Jaylen Brown, who unfortunately was exposed for all the world to see. And like in so many different instances in life, I can say, yay, but for the grace of God go I. That could have been me. That could have been me. You know, it had a completely different body and DNA and gene structure and was athletic and had discipline and all. I'm just saying, you know what I mean? Like, if y'all were close enough to brush up against me, right, your shirt would be dirty. Your shirt would be, we can be honest. This is a safe space. So to my brother, Jaylen Brown, I just wanted to say, we support you and we love you. And if you have a +1 on that trip out to Turkey, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? I clear the whole schedule. You know, I clear the whole thing.